At 2:17 inches the morning, Atlanta International Airport felt less like a place for travelers and more like a cathedral built for ghosts. The endless windows reflected black sky. The polished floors held the pale glow of emergency lights. Coffee cups sat abandoned on metal chairs. A lone departure screen blinked above gate F-12, where a private jet waited outside in the rain, its white body shining under blue runway lights like a sleeping animal. Nora Ellis pushed her cleaning cart across the empty terminal, the wheels squeaking softly with every step. She was used to being invisible. That was the best part of working nights. No crowds shoving past her. No businessmen looking through her like she was part of the floor. No women with designer luggage glancing at her plus-size body and tired shoes with that silent, cruel calculation people made when they thought no one noticed. At night, the airport belonged to people like her. The cleaners, the security guards, the maintenance crew, the exhausted souls who kept the world moving while everyone else slept. Nora pulled a trash bag from a bin near the private boarding gate and tied it shut. Her back ached. Her curls had started slipping from the clip at the back of her head. A faded blue uniform stretched over her hips, and one of her gloves had split near the thumb. She was thinking about getting home before 6, thinking about making pancakes for Ivy before school, thinking about whether the landlord would finally fix the heater in their apartment. Then something black flashed beneath the edge of a leather chair. Nora paused. At first, she thought it was a dropped earbud case. Maybe some rich passenger had lost it while rushing to board. She bent down with a soft groan, reached beneath the chair, and pulled out a ring. Not just any ring. It was heavy, cold, made of dark metal that looked almost gunmetal in the terminal light. A black diamond sat in the center, large and sharp, surrounded by tiny engraved marks she couldn't read. The stone didn't sparkle like normal jewelry. It seemed to absorb the light around it. Nora stared at it, frowning. "Somebody's having a bad night," she whispered. She turned toward the private gate desk. No agent, no passenger, no movement, only rain sliding down the glass beyond the gate. Then, from somewhere behind her, a man dropped to one knee. Nora froze. The sound was soft, but unmistakable. Fabric, shifting, a knee striking polished floor. She turned slowly. A man in a black suit knelt 10 feet away. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with an earpiece in his right ear, and one hand resting near the inside of his jacket. His head was lowered. Nora's breath caught. Before she could speak, another man knelt. Then, another. Across the terminal, men in black suits stopped moving. One by one, they lowered themselves to the floor. Security guards near the entrance bowed their heads. A man holding a tablet went pale and sank to one knee so fast the tablet nearly slipped from his hand. Outside the window, the private jet stairs remained lowered. The flight crew stood frozen at the base. The plane did not move. Nora's fingers tightened around the ring. Her voice came out thin. "What is happening?" No one answered. The terminal had gone silent in a way. Silence was never supposed to be. Then footsteps echoed from the dark hallway beside the private gate. Slow, controlled, unhurried. A man stepped into the light. Nora knew instantly he was not a passenger. Passengers rushed. Passengers complained. Passengers dragged luggage and checked phones and searched for outlets. This man walked like the airport had been built around his arrival. He was tall, dressed in a black coat over a dark suit. His hair nearly black, his jaw shadowed, his face beautiful. In the dangerous way, a storm over water could be beautiful. Tattoos climbed from beneath his cuffs, dark ink disappearing under expensive fabric. His eyes were gray, not soft gray, not warm gray, but cold, metallic gray, like smoke trapped behind glass. Every kneeling man lowered his head further. The man did not look at them first. He looked at Nora, at her split glove, at her tired eyes, at the black diamond ring in her hand. Nora's pulse thundered. "Is this yours?" The man stopped a few feet away. The air around him seemed to change the temperature. "Yes," he said. His voice was calm, low, controlled enough to make fear feel personal. Nora swallowed and held out the ring. "Then take it." He didn't. His gaze moved over her face with a kind of dangerous attention that made her want to step back and stand taller at the same time. "You picked it up," he said. "I found it on the floor. Do you know what it is?" "A ring." She hated that her voice trembled, so she lifted her chin. "A very expensive ring, apparently. One that makes grown men lose their minds." A faint shift passed through his expression. Not quite amusement, not quite admiration, something sharper. Behind him, one of the kneeling men whispered, "Boss." The man's gaze never left Nora. "They only kneel," he said, "when someone holds my crown." Nora stared at him, then at the ring, then at the men on the floor. Her first instinct was to laugh, because none of this could be real. Her second instinct was to run. Her third was older, steadier, forged from years of being underestimated and cornered. She closed her fingers around the ring and took one step back. "I don't want your crown," she said. The man's eyes darkened. "No," he said softly. "But now everyone knows you touched it." The first gunshot cracked through the window behind her. Glass exploded inward. Nora dropped instinctively. The ring clutched against her chest as bullets shattered the gate desk and sparked against metal chairs. The kneeling men moved at once, no longer kneeling but surging like a black wave. Two bodyguards threw themselves between Nora and the glass. Another dragged an airport security guard behind a pillar. The dangerous man was suddenly in front of her. Matteo Voss. She didn't know his name yet, but she would remember the feel of his hand closing around her wrist for the rest of her life. He pulled her behind him, his body shielding hers as another shot tore through the terminal. "Stay down," he ordered. "I was planning on it," Nora gasped. His mouth tightened. "You argue during gunfire. I clean airports at 2 a.m. I argue to stay awake." For one impossible second, his eyes flicked to hers. Then, another round of shots hit the glass. Men shouted. The private jet's lights flashed. Somewhere, an alarm began screaming. Matteo lifted one hand, and his bodyguards moved like they were part of him. No panic, no wasted motion. They returned fire toward the service road outside, forcing shadows away from the windows. Nora crawled backward, her shoulder hitting the cleaning cart. Spray bottles clattered onto the floor. The ring burned cold in her palm. Matteo turned, grabbed her around the waist, and lifted her behind the cover of a marble counter as if she weighed nothing. Nora hated the tiny, traitorous shock that passed through her body at his touch. Fear, she told herself. Only fear. He crouched in front of her, his coat brushing her knees, his face inches from hers. "Are you hit?" "No." His eyes dropped to her shoulder, her hands, her uniform, not casual, not polite, assessing every inch. "Are you sure?" I said no. "Good. Who are you?" Before he could answer, a bullet struck the pillar above them, raining dust across his hair. He didn't flinch. That frightened her more than the gunfire. A bodyguard appeared beside them, bleeding from a cut above his eyebrow. "Sir." Gabriel's men breached the service entrance. Matteo's jaw hardened. Gabriel. The name meant nothing to Nora, but the way everyone reacted to it told her enough. The bodyguard looked at Nora, then the ring in her hand. "We need to move the crown keeper." "The what?" Nora snapped. Matteo reached for her. She pulled back. "Don't call me that." His hand stopped in midair. For the first time, the cold man seemed to measure not the danger around them, but the woman refusing him in the middle of it. Then he said quietly, "Nora Ellis." Her blood turned to ice. She hadn't told him her name. Matteo saw the fear flash across her face. "You wear an airport badge," he said, eyes lowering briefly to the plastic ID clipped to her uniform. Nora looked down. Right. The badge. Still, the damage was done. Because for one breath, she had imagined something worse. Someone knowing the name beneath the name. Someone finding the apartment. Someone finding Ivy. Another shot shattered a hanging sign. Matteo's voice dropped. "I can explain later. Or you can die here, asking questions." Nora stared at him, then at the broken glass, the kneeling men now fighting, the private jet waiting in the rain. She hated him already for making sense. "Fine," she said. Matteo's hand closed around hers. This time she let him pull her up. They ran through the terminal beneath flashing lights, past empty chairs and scattered luggage, while armed men formed a moving wall around them. Nora's shoes slipped on broken glass. Matteo caught her before she fell. His palm pressed against her lower back, firm and controlled, not gentle but not careless either. They reached a private corridor marked authorized personnel only. Nora dug her heels in. "My cart." Matteo looked at her as if she had spoken in a language from another planet. "What?" "My cleaning cart. My phone is in the front pocket." A bodyguard started to say something. Matteo silenced him with one glance. Then he turned to another man. "Get her phone." Nora blinked. "Now," Matteo added. The bodyguard ran back into the gunfire. Nora didn't know what disturbed her more, that men obeyed him that quickly, or that he had listened to her at all. In the corridor, the walls were narrow and white, the lighting harsh. Matteo moved ahead, but his hand never left her wrist, not gripping hard enough to hurt, just enough to make it clear she was not being left behind. At the end of the hall, a black SUV waited inside a service bay. Rain lashed the concrete. The bodyguard returned, breathless, holding Nora's cracked phone. She snatched it. "Thank you." The man lowered his head, as if her thanks embarrassed him. Matteo opened the SUV door. Nora did not get in. His eyes narrowed. "Nora, I have a child at home." The words escaped before she could stop them. Everything changed. The rain, the gunfire behind them, the bodyguards shifting around them. Matteo's expression went still. "A child," he repeated. Nora's heart slammed against her ribs. She had made a mistake. She had sworn she would never say Ivy existed in front of danger. "My niece," she said quickly. "I'm her guardian. She's 6. She wakes up if I'm late." Matteo looked at her for a long moment. There was no softness in his face, but something in his eyes sharpened from possession to calculation, and then to something more dangerous. "Name? No. Nora. No." She stepped closer, ring still clenched in her fist. "You can drag me into whatever nightmare this is, but you don't get her. You don't get her name. You don't get her school. You don't get to make her part of this." For the first time, every man around Matteo seemed afraid. Not of him, but for her. No one talked to Matteo Voss like that. No one except the woman holding his crown. Matteo slowly lowered his gaze to the ring in her hand, then back to her face. "I don't use children," he said. The words were quiet, but they landed with the weight of a vow. Nora wanted not to believe him, but there was a cold disgust in his voice, as if the idea itself offended something ancient in him. "My men will secure your apartment," he said. "No, they will stand outside. They will not enter. No one will speak to her. No one will frighten her." I said no. "And if Gabriel already has your address?" Nora stopped breathing. Matteo did not look triumphant. He looked almost angry that he had to say it. "The terminal has cameras," he said. "Your badge was visible. Your face is visible. Gabriel has people inside this airport. By sunrise, He will know where you live. Nora's stomach turned. Ivy's little pink backpack, the dinosaur pancakes, the heater that rattled at night. You don't know that, she whispered. I know men like Gabriel. Something in the way he said the name told her Gabriel was more than an enemy. Matteo stepped closer, rain blowing against the side of his coat. I will not touch your child, he said, but I will keep death away from her door. Nora looked at the SUV, at the men, at the ring, at Matteo Voss, who had the face of a man carved from violence and the voice of a man trying very hard not to feel anything. Then she got into the SUV. The city was asleep as they drove away from the airport. Atlanta blurred past in streaks of rain and neon, black roads shining under streetlights. Nora sat rigid in the back seat, the ring wrapped in a napkin on her lap because she could no longer stand the feel of it against her skin. Matteo sat beside her, not touching, not speaking. But the space between them felt occupied by him. She could feel every movement he made. The slight adjustment of his cuff, the slow turn of his head toward the window. The quiet inhale when one of his men gave updates through an earpiece. His world moved around him like weather. 2 hostile vehicles disabled near the service road. A bodyguard in the front seat said, Airport police are being told it was a private security incident. A lie, Nora said. Matteo looked at her. I assume that's your specialty. The driver stiffened. Matteo only watched her. Survival requires lies, he said. And murder. Sometimes survival requires stopping murderers before they reach the innocent. That sounds rehearsed. It's old. Like the ring? His gaze dropped to the napkin. The ring belonged to my father, he said. Nora almost didn't hear him over the rain. He ruled the Voss syndicate for 30 years. Airports, shipping routes, ports, political favors, judges, weapons, real estate, all dressed up as luxury logistics. He was feared, respected, hated. And you inherited it? I was supposed to, but... Matteo looked out the window. My brother Gabriel wanted the throne, so he put a bullet in our father, placed the gun in my hand, and told the families I killed him. Nora went quiet. The SUV hummed through the wet streets. I was exiled, Matteo continued, not because they believed him, because without the ring I couldn't prove he lied. Nora looked at the black diamond wrapped in a napkin like a cursed piece of candy. So that ring is proof. It is more than proof. The crown. Yes. And it was on the floor? His jaw tightened. One of my loyal men stole it back tonight. He was supposed to hand it to me before I boarded the jet. Gabriel's assassins found him first. Nora remembered the empty chair, the black flash beneath it. Is he dead? Matteo's silence answered. The ring suddenly felt heavier. I'm sorry, Nora said before she could stop herself. Matteo turned his head slightly. People probably feared him, obeyed him, begged him, cursed him. Maybe not many people apologized to him with sincerity. His voice was lower when he spoke. He died, doing what he chose. That doesn't make it hurt less. A dangerous quiet filled the SUV. Nora looked away first. Because his eyes had changed. Not softened. Never softened. But something behind them had moved. The safe house was not a house. It was a penthouse above an old luxury hotel downtown, 30 floors above the rain, with glass walls overlooking Atlanta's glittering skyline. Marble floors, black leather furniture, a fireplace burning with blue-orange light, security monitors hidden behind smoked glass, men with guns in the hallways. Nora stood just inside the entrance, still in her airport uniform, feeling like a smudge on a painting worth more than her life. Matteo removed his coat and handed it to a guard without looking. His black shirt fit his broad shoulders too well. Ink curled along his forearms when he rolled one sleeve. Nora caught herself staring and immediately looked away. He noticed. Of course he noticed. A woman in a white blouse approached with a folded stack of clothes. For Miss Ellis. Nora frowned. I didn't ask for clothes. You're recovered in glass dust, Matteo said. I can wash my uniform at home. You aren't going home tonight. She turned on him. Excuse me. His expression remained calm. Not until I know Gabriel can't reach you. You don't get to decide that. Tonight, I do. That should have terrified her. It did. But it also made something hot and angry rise in her chest. Nora stepped closer, refusing to let the expensive room shrink her. I am not one of your men. No, Matteo said. You are far more inconvenient. The woman with the clothes froze. Nora stared at him. A flicker moved across Matteo's mouth. Almost a smile. Almost. Nora hated that she wanted to see it again. She took the clothes from the woman. Where's the bathroom? Matteo pointed toward a hallway. A guard moved to follow. Nora stopped and glared at him. The guard stopped, glancing at Matteo for help. Matteo's gaze held Nora's for a long second. Then he said, "Give her privacy." The guard stepped back. Nora walked down the hallway with as much dignity as a woman could have, while carrying someone else's silk pajamas and wearing airport shoes with broken glass stuck in the soles. Inside the bathroom, she locked the door and leaned against it. Her hands shook. Only then did she let herself breathe. The bathroom was bigger than her bedroom. Gold fixtures, heated floors, a mirror framed in black marble. Nora stared at her reflection and barely recognized herself. Her cheeks were pale, her eyes too wide, her uniform dusty, her curls loose around her face, a plus-size airport cleaner holding a mafia crown. She laughed once, silently, and covered her mouth. Then she called home. The phone rang twice before Mrs. Alvarez answered in a sleepy whisper. Nora, is Ivy okay? She's sleeping, honey. Why? Nora closed her eyes, relief flooding her so hard her knees nearly buckled. I got held up at work. There was an incident. What kind of incident? The kind where I need you to keep the chain on the door. Silence. Mrs. Alvarez had lived long enough to understand fear without details. I will, she said. If anyone comes, anyone, don't open. Nora, are you in trouble? Nora looked at the black marble, the silk clothes, the city burning with rain beyond the frosted window. Yes, she whispered, but I'm going to fix it. When she came out, Matteo was alone in the living room, or as alone as a man could be, while surrounded by invisible security. He stood at the window, one hand in his pocket, the city reflected across his face. The ring sat on a black velvet tray on the table between them. Nora had left it there before changing. You should take it now, she said. Matteo did not move. That simple? He asked. It's yours. It was seen in your hand. So the old families will ask why. Tell them I picked it up because rich men leave important things on floors. His gaze cut to her. This time, the ghost of amusement was real. It vanished quickly. There is a law older than my father, he said. A person who recovers the crown during a disputed succession becomes crown keeper until the families witness its return. Nora stared. That sounds fake. It is not. It sounds like something men invented to make jewelry dramatic. Men invent wars for less. She crossed her arms. What does it mean? It means until tomorrow night, you are under the protection of the Voss name. Lucky me. It also means Gabriel cannot claim the ring was stolen from him unless he challenges you publicly. Nora laughed, but it came out brittle. Publicly? What is he going to do? Sue the cleaning lady. He may try to kill you. The room chilled. Matteo said it without drama. That made it worse. Nora looked at the ring again. If I give it back in front of your families, I'm free. Yes. You promise. Matteo's face closed. Do not ask men like me for promises." Nora's heart sank. Then he stepped closer. "Ask for vows," he said. "We break promises. We die for vows." The fire cracked softly. Nora should have looked away. She didn't. "Then vow it," she said. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Matteo Voss lowered his head, not to kneel, not to bow, but close enough that the air between them became intimate and dangerous. "I vow," he said, "that if you return my crown before the families, you and your child walk away alive." Nora's voice was barely there, and after, his gaze lowered to her mouth for one dangerous second, then returned to her eyes. "After," he said, "you will wish you had never met me." She should have agreed. "Instead," she whispered, "I already do." His eyes darkened. The power went out. The penthouse fell into blackness. Emergency lights flickered red along the floor. Matteo moved before Nora could breathe. He crossed the room, caught her by the waist, and pulled her behind the wall beside the fireplace. This time, there were no windows breaking, no gunfire, only the faint click of the private elevator opening. Matteo placed one finger against his lips. Nora's heart hammered so loudly she was sure whoever had entered could hear it. 3 men stepped into the penthouse. Not Matteo's men. They moved quietly, dressed as hotel maintenance workers, carrying tool bags that hung too heavy. Matteo's arm tightened around Nora without touching anywhere improper, protective, controlled. "Infuriatingly steady," one man whispered. "Find the woman first. Gabriel wants her breathing, if possible." "If possible." Nora's stomach turned. The men spread through the room. Matteo reached behind his back and drew a gun. Nora hated guns, hated how quickly they changed a room, hated that in Matteo's hand, the weapon looked less like an object and more like an extension of a decision already made. One attacker moved towards the hallway, toward the bathroom where Nora had been minutes earlier. Matteo stepped from the shadows. The fight was silent and brutal. He struck the first man before the man even saw him. The gun disappeared from the attacker's hand. The second turned, and Matteo fired once, not wildly, not angrily, just with terrible precision. The third lunged toward Nora. Nora grabbed the black diamond ring from the table and threw the velvet tray at his face. It hit him hard enough to make him curse. Matteo crossed the room in 2 strides and slammed the man against the wall. The attacker's knife clattered to the floor inches from Nora's foot. Matteo held him there by the throat. "Who gave Gabriel the access code?" he asked. The man smiled through blood on his lip. "Someone close enough to watch you breathe." Matteo's face went colder than anything Nora had seen. He knocked the man unconscious. Security flooded in seconds later. Lights returned. Men shouted updates. The injured were dragged away. Nora stood trembling beside the table, the ring once again in her hand. Matteo turned toward her. His gaze dropped to her fingers, then to her face. "You could have run," he said, "and leave you to ruin my night alone." His eyes held hers. The room was full of men, but suddenly none of them seemed to exist. Matteo stepped closer. He reached toward her cheek. Nora stopped breathing. His fingers hovered near a tiny cut beneath her eye, where glass dust must have scratched her skin. He almost touched her. Almost. Then his hand curled into a fist and dropped. "Doctor," he ordered. "I don't need one," Nora said. "I wasn't asking." The doctor was an older man named Soren who smelled faintly of antiseptic and expensive tobacco. He cleaned the cut beneath Nora's eye while Matteo stood across the room with his arms folded, watching as if a scratch on her face were evidence of treason. "It's tiny," Nora said. Matteo said nothing. Soren glanced between them and wisely kept quiet. Afterward, Matteo gave Nora a bedroom with a locked door and no guard inside. He also gave her back her phone. That mattered more than the silk sheets. She called Mrs. Alvarez again, heard Ivy snoring softly in the background, and felt her chest loosen. Then she sat on the edge of the bed and opened the news. Nothing about airport gunfire, nothing about assassins. But there was one headline on a gossip site already gaining traction. Mystery woman delays billionaire private. Flight after late, night airport incident. There was a blurry photo, Nora in her cleaner uniform. Matteo shielding her with his body. His face was half hidden, but hers was clear. Her stomach dropped. By morning, everyone would see her. By morning, Ivy's world could burn. Nora didn't sleep. At dawn, she found Matteo in the kitchen, already dressed, already dangerous. He stood beside an espresso machine, speaking quietly to a woman with sharp eyes and silver hair pulled into a severe bun. The woman turned when Nora entered. "This is Valentina Cruz," Matteo said. "My strategist." Valentina looked Nora over with unsettling precision. "You are less fragile than I expected." "People say that when they expected someone thin," Nora replied. Valentina's eyebrows rose. Matteo's mouth twitched. Nora caught it. A real, almost smile. Dangerous, small, gone. Valentina set a tablet on the counter. "Your photo is spreading. Gabriel's media people are framing you as Matteo's mistress. By noon, they'll call you a thief. By dinner, they'll say you were paid to steal the ring. I didn't steal anything." "Truth is not the first version people believe," Valentina said. Nora crossed her arms. "So fix it." Valentina looked at Matteo. Matteo looked at Nora. "No," Nora said immediately. "You haven't heard the plan," Valentina said. "I saw his face. Whatever it is, no." Matteo leaned against the counter. "We announce that you are under my personal protection. That makes me sound like property. Then we announce something stronger." Nora narrowed her eyes. "How much stronger?" Valentina slid the tablet across the counter. On the screen was a draft statement. "Matteo Voss returns to Atlanta with crown keeper and intended bride, Nora Ellis." Nora stared at it. Then she looked up slowly. "You want me to pretend to be your fiancé?" Matteo's face gave nothing away. "Until the council tonight. You re-insane. It makes you untouchable. It makes me a target. You already are. I have a child, and if the world believes you belong to me, fewer men will dare approach her." Nora hated the phrase. Belong to me. She hated more that some dark, survival-trained part of her understood the logic. Valentina spoke carefully. "Gabriel can kill a witness. He can smear a cleaner. But if he attacks the announced bride of Matteo Voss before the council, he admits fear." Nora laughed once. "I clean bathrooms for a living. I am nobody's bride." Matteo's eyes moved over her face. "You are not nobody," he said. The words struck too close to places she kept hidden. She looked away. Matteo's voice lowered. "It is theater. Nothing more. Then why do you look like you hate the idea?" Silence. Valentina suddenly became very interested in her coffee. Matteo stepped closer. "I hate involving you," he said. Nora searched his face for manipulation. She found control. Ice. Restraint. But beneath it, something else. Guilt. That was unexpected. "You don't even know me," she said. "I know you stood between my ring and Gabriel's man with a velvet tray. That was panic. That was instinct. I was scared. Courage usually is." Nora's throat tightened. She did not want beautiful words from dangerous men. Beautiful words were how people walked willingly into cages. So she lifted her chin. "If I agree, I set the rules." Matteo's eyes sharpened. "Say them. No touching me for show unless I say yes." His gaze held. "Agreed. My niece stays out of this. No photos, no names, no men near her school. Already handled." She stiffened. "What does that mean?" It means there are men near her school watching for threats, not watching her. Nora stepped closer, anger flaring. You should have asked. Yes, Matteo said. The admission stopped her. He didn't defend it, didn't soften it, just accepted the hit. I am used to making decisions in war, he said, not asking permission from women who don't fear me properly. I fear you. No. His eyes dropped to her clenched hands. You fear what follows me. There is a difference. Nora had no answer. The fake engagement went public at 9:03 a.m. By 9:07, her phone had 17 missed calls from unknown numbers, and one voicemail from her landlord saying reporters were outside the building. By 9:20, the internet had decided Nora Ellis was either a gold digger, a hostage, a Cinderella, a criminal, or the secret lover of one of the most dangerous men on the East Coast. By 10:00, Ivy's school went into a private security lockdown under the excuse of a gas leak. Nora stood in Matteo's penthouse wearing a black dress Valentina had chosen for her. It was elegant, but simple, long-sleeved, fitting her curves instead of hiding them. Nora had expected to hate it. She didn't. That annoyed her. When Matteo entered, the room seemed to quiet. His eyes found her and stopped. Not politely, not casually. Stopped. Nora felt heat rise in her cheeks. What? She demanded. His jaw tightened. Nothing. Liar. Valentina Mural. This should be a very believable engagement. Matteo shot her a look. Nora almost smiled. Almost. They left for the council at sunset. The meeting was held beneath an old private club downtown, hidden under marble floors and velvet dining rooms where judges, CEOs, and senators pretended not to know whose money kept the chandeliers burning. Black SUVs lined the rainy street outside. Photographers shouted when Matteo stepped out. Then Nora emerged beside him. The flashes were blinding. Matteo's hand hovered near her lower back. He did not touch. He remembered. For some reason that steadied her. A reporter yelled, "Nora, are you really engaged to Matteo Voss?" Another shouted, "Did you steal the ring?" Nora stopped walking. Matteo's head turned slightly. "Nora," he warned quietly. She smiled toward the cameras, though her heart was punching her ribs. "I picked up something powerful men were careless enough to drop," she said. "That's not stealing. That's cleaning." For one stunned second, the crowd went silent. Then the cameras erupted. Matteo stared at her. This time, the smile he almost gave her looked like danger-learning admiration. Inside, the council waited in a circular chamber of dark wood and candlelight. Men and women in tailored suits sat around a long table. Old money, old violence, old sins dressed in silk. At the far end stood Gabriel Voss. He looked nothing like Matteo and exactly like him. Same height, same sharpness around the bones. But where Matteo carried darkness like a burden, Gabriel wore charm like a knife polished for display. His blonde hair was perfect. His smile was warm. His eyes were empty. "So this is the airport girl," Gabriel said. Nora felt Matteo go still beside her. "Careful," Matteo said. Gabriel's smile widened. "I meant no insult. I admire efficiency. My brother leaves for exile, returns with a cleaner, and somehow she becomes his bride overnight." Nora stepped forward before Matteo could answer. "I prefer Crown Keeper," she said. A murmur moved through the council. Gabriel's eyes flicked to the ring on Nora's finger. Matteo had not taken it back. Not yet. The black diamond sat heavy against her skin, resized temporarily with a hidden band. It looked wrong on her hand, and terrifyingly right. Gabriel's gaze sharpened. "You have no idea what you re-wearing. I know men kneel when I hold it." A few council members looked down to hide reactions. Matteo didn't move, but Nora felt his attention like a hand at her spine. Gabriel approached slowly. Matteo stepped in front of Nora. There it was, the visual every camera would have killed for if cameras had been allowed. The exiled mafia boss shielding the plus-size cleaner bride from the brother who stole his throne, candlelight burning along the ring between them. Gabriel smiled at Matteo. "Still hiding women behind you?" Matteo's voice turned lethal. "Still hiding behind dead men." The room went cold. Nora looked between them. Gabriel's mask flickered. Then an elderly woman at the head of the table spoke. "Enough. The ring has returned. The Crown Keeper will present it." Matteo turned to Nora. This was the moment. Give back the ring. Walk away alive. That had been the vow. Nora removed it slowly. For reasons she did not want to understand, her hand felt strangely bare without it. Matteo extended his palm. Their eyes met. She placed the ring in his hand. The room held its breath. Matteo slid the black diamond onto his finger. Every loyal Voss soldier in the chamber dropped to one knee. Even some who had stood behind. Gabriel hesitated. The sound echoed like thunder under stone. Matteo did not look at them. He looked at Nora, and in that look was the first dangerous shift. Not suspicion, not calculation, recognition. Then Gabriel started clapping, slowly, mockingly. "Beautiful," he said, "but incomplete." He raised one hand. A screen behind the council table lit up. Nora's face appeared. Not from the airport, from years ago. A younger Nora standing outside a courthouse, crying, with her sister beside her. Nora stopped breathing. Matteo's gaze cut to the screen. Gabriel's smile became delicate. "Before Miss Ellis was an airport cleaner. She was Nora Ward," he said. "Sister of Mara Ward, an airport logistics clerk who stole from the Voss syndicate and testified to federal agents before dying in a tragic car accident." Nora's world tilted. Matteo looked at her, not angry. Not yet. But the room changed around them. "You lied about your name," Gabriel said softly. "About your past. About the child you hide." Nora felt the room closing in. "Ivy." He knew about Ivy. Her voice came out broken. "Don't say another word." Gabriel's eyes gleamed. "The child is not her niece. Not legally. Mara Ward left behind a daughter, Ivy, whom Nora has hidden for 5 years. One might ask why a woman connected to federal witness files happened to find my brother's ring at the exact moment he returned." Matteo's face turned unreadable. Nora hated that it hurt. She stepped back. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what it was." Gabriel tilted his head. Or perhaps she was planted. A federal ghost. A trap wearing a cleaner's uniform. The council erupted in whispers. Nora looked at Matteo. "Matteo." His name felt dangerous in her mouth. He said nothing. That silence cut deeper than Gabriel's accusation, because she had expected fear from the room. She had not expected disappointment from him. Gabriel stepped closer. "Ask her how her sister died, brother." Nora's hands shook. Matteo finally spoke. "How?" Nora looked at him, and for a moment, she was not in a mafia chamber. She was on a rain-slick road 5 years ago, standing beside twisted metal, hearing a little girl scream from the back seat. "Mara found files," Nora whispered. "Cargo manifests. Names. Payments." She thought she was exposing corrupt airport officials. She didn't know it was your family. Matteo's expression changed. Barely, but she saw it. "She was going to testify," Nora said. Then someone ran her car off the road. Gabriel sighed. "Tragic." Nora turned on him. "You killed her." The chamber went silent. Gabriel smiled. "Careful. Miss Ward." Nora moved toward him, but Matteo caught her wrist. Not hard. Enough. She looked down at his hand, then up at his face. "Let go," she said. His voice was low. "Not here. You think I lied to you. I think everyone in this room has lied to me." "That's not an answer." "No," he said. It's a warning. Gabriel laughed softly. There he is, our returning king. Suspicious of the woman who holds his heart after one night, Matteo's eyes went black. My heart, he said, is not in this room. Nora told herself that should not hurt. It did anyway. The council demanded proof, bloodlines, testimony. Gabriel demanded Nora be detained as a federal informant. Matteo refused. The old woman declared the succession unresolved until midnight, when all families would vote whether Matteo's return was valid. Until then, Nora remained crownkeeper witness. Not free, not safe, not trusted. Matteo took her back to the penthouse in silence. This time, the distance between them was colder than the rain. Nora stood by the window, still wearing the black dress, watching headlights crawl through the city below. Matteo poured whiskey but did not drink it. Say it, she said. He didn't turn. Say what? That you think I set you up? I don't know what I think. That must be terrifying for you. His glass hit the table sharply. Nora flinched despite herself. He saw it. Regret moved across his face so fast, she almost missed it. I did not know who you were, she said. I changed my name because Gabriel's men came looking after Mara died. I moved apartments 4 times. I took the airport job because night shifts let me be home when Ivy wakes up. I didn't steal your ring. I didn't want your war. I didn't want you. Matteo looked at her then. That last sentence landed. His voice was quiet. And now? Nora's throat tightened. She should have said she still didn't want him. Instead, she said, now I want my life back. Something shuttered behind his eyes. Then, you'll have it. The words were exactly what she wanted. So why did they feel like abandonment? He turned to leave. Nora hated herself for asking, did you mean it? He stopped. When you said your heart wasn't in that room, his shoulders remained still. After a long moment, he said, I meant it was safer outside my body. Then he walked out. Nora did not see him again until midnight. By then, everything had gone wrong. Gabriel's men attacked Ivy's school van. They never reached Ivy. Matteo's guards stopped them 2 blocks away. But one photo hit Nora's phone before anyone could contain it. A black sedan beside a school bus. A child's pink backpack on the ground. Nora screamed so hard her voice broke. Matteo came through the door like violence given human shape. She's alive, he said immediately. Nora, look at me. Ivy is alive. Nora shoved him with both hands. You said they wouldn't reach her. They didn't. They got close enough. He took the hit. Let her shove him again. Let her beat her fists against his chest once before catching her wrists. Nora. She struggled. Let me go. She's being moved here. Nora froze. What? My men have her and Mrs. Alvarez. They're bringing them through the underground garage. No. No, this place is dangerous. Every place is dangerous now. Because of you. Yes. The admission broke something open between them. Matteo's face was stripped of pride. Yes, he repeated. Because of me. Because of my ring. Because of my brother. Because I thought reclaiming a throne mattered more than the people crushed underneath it. Nora's eyes burned. Ivy is 6. I know. No, you don't know how she asks if her mother is in the stars. You don't know how she hides cereal under her pillow because after Mara died, she was afraid food would disappear too. You don't know what it took to make her feel safe. Matteo's grip loosened. His voice changed. I know what it is to lose safety as a child. Nor still. He released her wrists. My mother was not a wife, he said. She was a mistake my father kept in a house outside Savannah. When Gabriel's mother found out, she sent men to burn it. I was 8. My mother hid me inside a kitchen cabinet and told me not to make a sound. Nora's anger faltered. Matteo looked away. My father found me the next morning. He raised me after that. Not out of love, out of guilt. Gabriel has hated me since the day I survived. The room was silent except for rain. Nora saw him differently then. Not softer, never soft, but cracked beneath the armor in a place no one was allowed to touch. "You should have told me," she said. "So should you." They stood there, both wounded, both right, both wrong. Then the elevator opened. Ivy ran out in pajamas, clutching her pink backpack, curls wild, eyes huge. Aunt Nora. Nora dropped to her knees. Ivy crashed into her arms. For a moment, the Mafia war, the crown, the bloodline, the council, all of it disappeared. There was only a child shaking against her chest, and Nora kissing her hair, whispering, "You re-okay, you re-okay. I've got you." Matteo stood across the room and watched. Something changed in him then. Not fascination, not possession. Fear, true fear. Because now Nora was not a mysterious woman with his ring. She was a home someone could destroy. And Matteo Voss, who had survived exile, betrayal, bullets, and the hatred of his own blood, suddenly looked at Nora Ellis. Like losing her would be the one wound he would not survive. The climax came at the old airport chapel. Not the council chamber, not the penthouse, not a glamorous ballroom. A forgotten interfaith chapel tucked near a closed concourse at Atlanta International Airport, where travelers once lit candles before flights and whispered prayers beneath stained glass clouds. Gabriel chose it deliberately. He sent the message at 1:03 a.m. "Bring the ring, bring the woman, or the child's name goes public." Matteo wanted to go alone. Nora refused. They argued in the penthouse hallway while Ivy slept behind 3 locked doors with Mrs. Alvarez and Valentina. "You are not coming," Matteo said. "It's my child," he threatened. "It's my brother. It's my sister he murdered." Matteo stepped close, his control cracking at the edges. "He wants you there because he knows I will make mistakes if you are near him." Nora's breath caught. There it was, the confession without the words. "And if you go alone," she said, "you'll make a worse one." His eyes burned into hers. "You think you can save me?" "No," she whispered. "I think I can remind you what you're saving." That stopped him. For one suspended second, he looked at her like he might finally touch her face. This time, Nora wanted him to. His hand rose. The elevator chimed. The moment shattered. They went to the airport with 20 SUVs moving through rain like a funeral procession for a king who refused to die. Nora wore her blue cleaner's jacket over the black dress. It was her choice. If Gabriel wanted the airport girl, he would get her. The chapel was lit by candles and emergency exit signs. Stained glass painted the walls in muted blues and reds. Rain battered the roof. Outside the chapel doors, Matteo's men clashed with Gabriel's soldiers through the empty concourse, the sounds muffled but violent. Gabriel stood at the altar. In his hand was a small silver recorder. "My confession insurance," he said. Nora's eyes locked onto it. Gabriel smiled. "Your sister was brave. Stupid, but brave. She recorded everything before she died. Names, payments, my voice ordering the hit. I found the backup yesterday." Nora's blood roared. "You killed her." "Yes." The word was simple, cruel, final. Matteo moved, but Gabriel lifted a gun. "Careful, brother." Nora stepped forward. "You wanted me. I'm here." Gabriel's gaze dragged over her uniform jacket. Still pretending dignity comes with polyester. Matteo's voice dropped to something inhuman. "Look at her like that again, and I'll remove your eyes before I kill you." Gabriel laughed. "There, that's the obsession. The great Matteo Voss brought to his knees by a woman who mops floors." Nora felt Matteo beside her, coiled and lethal. So she did the only thing Gabriel did not expect. She walked away from Matteo. Into the aisle. Alone. Nora, Matteo warned. She ignored him. Her heart was beating so hard she could feel it in her throat, but she kept walking until she stood a few feet from Gabriel. "You think cleaning makes me small?" she asked. "I have cleaned blood from bathroom tiles, because men like you think the world exists to absorb your violence. I have cleaned vomit from carpets while executives stepped over me. I have cleaned fingerprints from glass doors people never thanked me for opening. I see everything men like you leave behind." Gabriel's smile thinned. Nora held out her hand. "Give me my sister's voice." Gabriel tilted his head. "And what will you give me?" Nora slowly removed the black diamond ring from the chain around her neck. Matteo went still behind her. "Nora," he said, quieter now. She did not look back. Gabriel's eyes lit up. "Now there's the sensible girl." Nora held the ring out. Gabriel reached. Then Matteo said, "Do not. Not an order. A plea." Nora finally looked back. His face was exposed in a way she had never seen. Not soft. Not weak. Worse. Afraid. Not for the Empire. For her. Nora smiled sadly. Then she dropped the ring. Not into Gabriel's hand. Onto the chapel floor. The black diamond struck stone with a sharp crack that echoed like a bell. Every man in the chapel looked down. Nora lunged for the recorder. Gabriel grabbed her arm. Matteo moved. The chapel exploded into violence. Gabriel fired. The shot hit stained glass above the altar, raining colored shards like bant. Matteo slammed into him, driving him into the pews. Nora fell hard, the recorder skidding across the floor. She crawled toward it. A gunman stepped into the chapel, aiming at her. Before he could fire, one of Matteo's bodyguards threw himself into the line of fire and took the shot in his vest, crashing into the pew beside her. "Crown Keeper," he gasped. "Move." Nora grabbed the recorder and ran. Gabriel broke free, blood at his temple, fury destroying his charm. He saw the recorder in her hand and raised his gun. Matteo saw it too. For one terrible second, Nora knew he would not reach her in time. Then Matteo did something no king should ever do. He dropped to his knees, not in surrender, in front of her. The bullet hit him high in the shoulder, spinning him back against the aisle. Nora screamed. Matteo fell. The chapel went silent for half a breath. Then every loyal Voss soldier surged forward. Gabriel tried to run, but the old councilwoman appeared in the doorway with Valentina beside her, and half the families behind them. The recorder in Nora's hand was still playing. Gabriel's own voice filled the chapel, cold, clear, ordering Mara Ward's death, framing Matteo, buying judges, selling roots, threatening children. The council heard everything. Gabriel looked around and saw his empire vanish. "No," he whispered. Matteo pushed himself up with one arm, blood darkening his shirt. His eyes found Nora first. Only then did he look at Gabriel. "You wanted the crown," Matteo said, voice rough with pain. "Kneel for it." Gabriel lifted his gun again. Nora picked up the black diamond ring from the floor. The room shifted. Every loyal man lowered to one knee. The council followed. Even Gabriel's remaining soldiers, seeing the old families kneel, faltered. Nora stood in the aisle of the chapel, plus-size body shaking, cleaner's jacket torn, black dress streaked with dust, holding the ring in one hand and her sister's confession in the other. This was the thumbnail no one would believe unless they saw it. The airport cleaner making an empire kneel, while the Mafia Boss bled at her feet. Gabriel stared at her, wild with disbelief. "You?" he spat. Nora looked at him through tears. "Yes," she said. "Me?" Matteo rose behind her despite the wound, one hand pressed to his shoulder. His voice was deadly calm. "Touch my crown keeper," he said, "and the Voss name ends with your blood." Gabriel did not get another chance. The families turned on him. By dawn, the airport was quiet again. The official story said there had been a private security breach, a federal investigation, and the arrest of a major organized crime figure whose name the news repeated for weeks. Gabriel Voss. Mara Ward's murder was reopened. Nora's name was cleared before it could be ruined. Ivy's identity was sealed by court order, protected, not by mafia threats, but by federal law, and the kind of expensive lawyers Matteo hired with a single phone call. Matteo reclaimed the Voss empire, but he changed it, not all at once. Men like him did not become saints because a woman looked at them with wounded eyes, but ports that moved weapons went quiet. Judges who owed Gabriel favors resigned. Child trafficking routes Gabriel had secretly profited from were burned to ash. Matteo's enemies learned that his violence had become more selective, not weaker. And Nora learned something worse. A dangerous man could keep his vow. That did not make him safe. It made leaving him harder. 3 weeks after the chapel, Nora returned to work, not because she needed the money. Matteo had offered enough to change her life, and she had refused most of it with a look that made Valentina laugh for the first time. Nora returned because she wanted her life to belong to her. The airport staff treated her differently now. Some stared, some whispered, some apologized for years of not seeing her. Nora accepted none of their guilt and all of their improved scheduling. At 2:17 a.m., exactly 1 month after the night she found the ring, she was cleaning near gate F12 again. The private boarding gate had new glass. The floor had been polished until no trace of bullets remained. But Nora remembered. She always would. A shadow fell across the floor behind her. She didn't turn. "You're late," she said. Matteo's voice came from behind her. "I wasn't aware we had an appointment." "You always know exactly where to be when dramatic lighting is involved." A quiet pause. Then, softly, Nora. Her name in his mouth still did something dangerous to her. She turned. Matteo stood near the row of leather chairs, dressed in black as always, his shoulder healed but not forgotten. The black diamond ring sat on his hand now, where it belonged. No guards knelt this time. They stayed far back, pretending not to watch. Nora leaned on her mop handle. "Are you here to reclaim another lost monarchy from under airport furniture?" "No." "Threaten me for touching jewelry?" "No." "Fake another engagement?" His eyes darkened. That was never the part that felt fake. Nora's chest tightened. The terminal hummed softly around them. Matteo stepped closer, then stopped at a careful distance. Always control, always restraint, until she chose otherwise. "I came to return something," he said. He held out a small object. Nora looked down. It was her old airport badge, the one cracked during the gunfire, the one she had lost that night. "I thought security replaced it." "They did." He looked almost uncomfortable. "I kept this one." "Why?" His gaze lifted to hers. "Because it was the first thing that told me your name." Nora's throat tightened. "Matteo, I am not good," he said. "I know. I am not gentle." I noticed. "I will have enemies until the day I die." Very romantic. His mouth curved faintly, but his eyes were raw. "I can offer protection, loyalty, truth, when I am strong enough to speak it. Silence, when words would only make me cruel. I can offer a home no one reaches without going through me first." Nora's fingers tightened around the badge. "And love?" she whispered. Matteo looked at her, as if the word hurt. Then he removed the black diamond ring from his finger. Every guard in the distance went still. Nora's breath caught. Matteo did not hand it to her like property. He held it between them like a surrender. "The crown made men kneel," he said. "You made me choose what kind of king I would be." Nora's eyes burned. "I don't want to be owned by your world. I know. I don't want Ivy raised inside fear. She won't be. I don't want diamonds bought with blood." Then I'll spend the rest of my life cleaning the blood from what I inherited. Nora let out a shaky laugh through tears. That's my job. No, Matteo said, stepping closer. Not anymore. This time, when he reached for her face, he stopped halfway, waiting. Nora looked at his hand, at the tattoos, the scars, the power he had used to destroy and protect. Then she stepped into his touch. His palm cupped her cheek with such controlled reverence that her heart broke open quietly, without permission. Matteo lowered his forehead to hers. In the empty terminal where she had once been invisible, Nora Ellis stood beneath the pale glow of Gate F-12, with the most feared man in Atlanta holding her like she was not a weakness, not a secret, not a woman who had accidentally picked up his crown, but the one person he had chosen to kneel before without being asked. "I'm still scared of you," she whispered. "I know. I'm still angry. I deserve that. I'm not easy." His thumb brushed the edge of her cheek. His voice dropped to a vow. "I would not have crossed an empire for easy." Outside, the rain slowed. The runway lights glowed gold against the glass. Behind them, one by one, Matteo's bodyguards lowered their heads, not to the ring, not to the crown, but to the woman who had changed the meaning of both. Nora looked at them, then at Matteo. "No kneeling," she said softly. "Not tonight." Matteo's eyes held hers. Then, slowly, the Mafia boss who had made cities tremble lowered himself to one knee anyway. Not for the empire, not for the families, for her. He took her hand, pressed his lips once to her knuckles, and whispered, "Then let this be the first thing I do that has nothing to do with power." Nora's tears fell silently. She did not say yes to a proposal, not yet. Their love had been born from bullets, betrayal, grief, and a ring too heavy for any ordinary life. It needed time. It needed truth. It needed mornings with ivy and locked doors opened slowly. It needed Matteo learning how to sit at a breakfast table without checking every reflection for enemies. It needed Nora learning that protection did not have to become a cage. But when she looked down at him, at this impossible man kneeling on the airport floor where her life had shattered and remade itself, she knew one thing with dangerous certainty. She had picked up his crown by accident, but his heart, that he had placed in her hands on purpose. And this time, Nora did not give it back.